Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Coral Bouquet Gallery. In my last episode, I explained to you my process. For this second video, what I'm going to be showing you is the second step in my process where I create the alcohol ink paintings that I'm going to cut and collage onto the surface of an already prepped canvas. For this surface, I've already got everything ready. I applied a blue-green acrylic background. I added alcohol ink splatters. I outlined them with my paint markers, and now it's ready to go. For my alcohol ink painting, I'm going to be using the same stuff that a lot of artists will use. You can see here, I already have my rubbing alcohol prepared in a little bottle. Now you can use whatever percentage you want, but I find that 70% and higher tends to work better. I also have some blending solution that I purchased on Dick Blick, and then I have my various colors. Okay, I'm also going to be using a pocket bellow. This is basically a modified straw. You can use whatever you want. You can use a blow dryer, but I find that this works best. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the rubbing alcohol onto the surface. I like to put quite a bit. Remember, I'm not trying to make a specific shape. I just really want a lot of color. And I like to start with my lightest color first. I get quite a bit of ink on there, and then I go around it with a slightly darker color, and I just go darker. And all I'm interested in is getting some shapes and creating some nice blending of colors. So now I'm going to do another layer of alcohol ink. I'm going to apply some more yellow outside of that edge. And then I want to go ahead and add in a new color, which is going to be just a little bit of blue. Now you can do one of two things. You can either use your pocket bellow or straw again, or you can just do a little bit of this where you sort of let it flow. I like that effect. Now, sometimes what I like to do is I can add just a little bit of gold, which I've already mixed up. When you put the gold, I like to make it kind of messy. Add a little bit of blending solution so that it'll move around. Use the straw or the pocket bellow again.
You can collapse that straw if you need to. It's too long.
Yeah, it's too long. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a couple of drops of the alcohol all by itself because I love to get an interesting pattern. Remember, like I've said a couple of times now, I'm not going for a specific look. Every time I do this, it's really just all about having fun and trying to make something that looks slightly interesting. If I'm not loving the patterns that I'm creating, the straw is another great way to just keep moving the color around until I can be happy with what I'm creating. What I've really been interested in lately is just saturating the paper and adding as many layers as I possibly can. Just keep playing with it until you're happy. For me, after all that, I actually really like how this looks. Sometimes it's the simplest moves that actually make you happy with what you're doing. So for me, I'm going to stay with this and we're going to let it dry up and see how it looks. As far as how long it takes to dry, it just depends on how many layers you've done. For me, to be safe, especially since I like to collage this onto larger paintings, I let these sit overnight so that I can make sure once I apply them to the canvas and with my Mod Podge that the ink doesn't start to smear everywhere. So there are various ways to get the desired look that you're going for. For me, I tend to stick now with just a straw and kind of moving the paper around. In the past, I've tried using a heat gun, which did not go well. I've tried using a blow dryer, which can create a much softer look, but it tends to make the ink dry very quickly, obviously, so you can't play with it as much. Where I'm at right now, my aesthetic is I just like to play around and create these patterns because they look more interesting once I collage them onto the surface of my larger pieces. Okay everyone, well this was just a really quick demo of how I like to play around with alcohol inks. If you're interested in seeing the next step in my process, please make sure that you subscribe and watch the next video. Alright guys, the reason that you can see me doing another one is I like to do multiples at the same time. Just like with my backgrounds, when inspiration hits, I don't like having to start from the beginning and create my background and then my collage pieces. I actually like to do multiple at once. So oftentimes I'll do mini canvases. Maybe I'll do an acrylic pour and I'll do 3 or 4, and then I'll go and I'll move over to the alcohol ink process and I'll do 3 or 4 of those so that I have them at the ready whenever lightning strikes and I'm ready to start working on a piece. All you can see me doing is the same thing I did with the last piece. I didn't really love the colors that I was working with. I think I'd like to go more with the blues and the greens. So I'm going to add more of those. I might add in just a little bit of some yellow, but I'm really loving the patterns that this is creating. Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm liking this one a lot more than the last one. Sometimes I really like to create very large shapes because I feel like I can just cut out those bigger shapes altogether and post those really big ones or collage them onto the surface. I love that. So pretty. Just gonna add a couple of alcohol drops over here and a couple over here just to add something to it. And I am very happy with this piece. Very soft, very pretty. I'll probably leave it to dry overnight just like the other piece, and then tomorrow we can come back and I'll start collaging it onto the surface. Bye guys, see you next time.